Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. How's your week going? I hope you're doing well. I know we've been having fun around here. It's been kind of cooler, a little bit cloudy, a tiny bit of drizzle. I wouldn't say it's been raining, but it's just been kind of a nice little late spring time for the Oregon area. We don't get real warm springtime. And it dawned on me yesterday that we're coming up on a 3-day weekend with Memorial Day. And I just had to laugh because normally we'd all be getting so excited for a 3-day weekend. But right now, what's a weekend? What's a weekday? How does it all fit together? It's just kind of weird and different. So I'm still excited about Memorial Day. I think it'll be fun. I'm still thinking, okay, it's a 3-day weekend and it's a holiday. I haven't totally figured out what that means yet. I know my family is getting together to do a Zoom get together because we're still in our separate bubbles. We haven't really connected. Some are expanding, but none of the big groups. I come from a large family, so you get us all together and it wouldn't match the criteria of small group gatherings. But we're going to do a Zoom Memorial Day, which will be fun. And I've been thinking about special menus, what we can do, what we can eat, and I've got flowers planned for the house. So I'm going to have a holiday. How about you? Are you having a holiday? Are you going camping? You know, it's kind of weird. Can you? Should you? Is it even open? Who knows? It's just such a strange time. Today, we're going to be talking about how we can all be florists in this strange time. How we move forward. What's the next steps? Where do we go from here? Because being a florist is so dramatically different. If you are already a florist, you know the impact on your business. You know what's happening. If you're thinking about being a florist, then you're going, is this the right time? Should I? What is going to happen? And we'll be chatting about all of that. Remember, if you're on the phone, turn it sideways for a bigger picture. If the comments are in the way, swipe it. It'll go in silent mode. Then you can just see. If you're watching me without the picture, you've got it down because you're maybe at work, although most of us aren't at work these days. But I know sometimes people watch without their eyes because they're just listening as though it was a podcast so that they don't get caught that they were doing things on work time. I'll just make sure, what do you think? So you can turn it over and look, so I'll remind you. Flower-wise, we have so many beautiful things, gorgeous blooms to work with. So we'll be doing a lot of design. I've got one I wanted to show you just because it's so unique. It's a Variegated Dahlia. Proper pronunciation. Let's kind of talk about that for a second because I say Dahlia most of the time, but proper is Dahlia because that's the way the man that named it, his name was pronounced, Dahlia. So those of you that say it incorrectly like me, Dahlia, maybe we all need to practice Dahlia. But isn't that beautiful? It's a gorgeous bloom. And they're long-lasting when you take care of them well. Then we have some Fragrant Hyacinths. See how they're opening out? So beautiful. Grand. Some Muscari, Allium, Scabiosa, Ranunculus, Yarrow, Garden Roses, Spray Roses, Butterfly Ranunculus. This is another one that may be newer to you. They're growing them commercially now quite a bit in California and right here in Portland, Oregon as well. The Butterfly Ranunculus, they are surprisingly long-lasting. They look very fragile. They look like they would fall apart and shatter and die quickly, but in reality they hold beautifully, very long-lasting. And the color transitions, they get almost a shiny metallic hue to them, which is amazing. It's one that I like to take home and just watch how it goes through the life cycle. The other thing that's about amazing and beautiful about them is these buds, these little tiny ones, they will actually open. They go ahead and bloom out even when they're that immature, which is really grand. Now, I'll put these back in water so that everything will live for us. got scented geranium, orangium. Oh, so much to do. So while I get started here, Marisa is in the studio with me. Carolyn is in the studio with me. Carolyn's monitoring YouTube. Marisa's monitoring Facebook. Then virtually we have Caledonia and Susie online with us, greeting you. And we have you, the Tulip Tribe. If you're a member of the tribe, post your tulip. The question is always, what does it mean to be a member of the tribe? Everybody is part of our group, but the tribe members are our students that are currently in class, our graduates, those that have already been to class, and the members of our Flower Lovers Club. So those three groups of people, put your tulip up there. Let everybody know you're part of the official tribe. And if you are interested, we are opening up our private group a little more. We'll add a few more members. You have to be a student or a graduate or a Flower Lovers Club. But if you would like to join, just send me a request. So it's the Tulip Tribe. It's a private group on Facebook. And we started very small so that we could make sure that we knew what we were doing. And now we're ready to go ahead and expand a little bit and make it bigger. So if you would like to join us, make sure you send me in a request and I'll get you added. So as I'm pulling here, Marisa, Carolyn, what's going on out there?
Well, YouTube is very international today. We've got South Africa, Brazil, Sweden, Canada, United States, all over the world.
Welcome, YouTube, from all over the world. I find that so fascinating and so fabulous because everybody's flowers are different. Everyone's practices are different, but we're all in this together, sharing a love for flowers. So, Marisa, what have you got?
Well, so far I have counted 26 tulips. I see out there Therese and Gayla, Donna, Sharon, Amber, Annalise, Jim, Wendy, David, Vanjie, Beatrice, Harmony, Jennifer, Brooke, Arthur, Nora, Ewa, Diana, Wayne, Robin, Kathleen, Diane, Dots, Kelly, Kim, and Renee.
Welcome. Thanks for sharing your afternoon with me. I've pulled some fun flowers. I've got orangium, some little tiny spray roses, euonymus, butterfly, lavender, some rosemary, and scented geranium. I was trying to pull things that would be reminiscent of what's going on right now, because as Floral is evolving in this new format of COVID, pandemic, our changed reality, flowers are more important than they've ever been. And we're coming almost a full circle with a return to the past. We talked about that last week, how buying direct from the maker is very, very important, and that people want to know who their floral artist is, and then also buying local, homegrown flowers, flowers from your area. So all of these things were kind of gathered. Now I did order some, the scented geranium, but it would grow here. It's just not right now in my backyard, needless to say. But rosemary, it would grow right out here, all these things. And it makes it so that you could become a flower farmer and then evolve into floristry. And I think that's going to be a huge growth area as we continue on with the way that flowers are now. And the question is always, is this a good time to be a florist? Yes, it is. That I can promise you. Flowers are more important than they've ever been before. And it is interesting. People are starting to approach flowers from a health standpoint. They know that having flowers in their home brings positive vibes, positive energy, true health, mental health, health for the soul. It's good for you. And so they're bringing more flowers home. And as we evolve, people will be doing more entertaining at home and wanting flowers. So people are buying more flowers than ever before. So yes, this is a good time to be in the flower world. Oddly, for a new person that's just beginning, it's better than somebody that's already been in business. But that's traditionally true. When things go wrong in the economy, when the world is struggling financially, established businesses actually have a harder time because they are used to business as it was. And a new business, since they're starting from nothing, having nothing really is not a big deal. That's just the way it is. And then as it grows, it gets better. So this is actually a very good time to be entering into the world of flowers. And that has been true throughout the ages. Anytime there's been a downturn, floral does surprisingly well because it's one of the least expensive luxury items. So what I'm doing, and I wanted to think about where flowers are going now and how our past is affecting us. And those of you that have had the advanced class, you know that there's a whole segment on the history of floral design, the heritage designs. And one of the heritage designs in the advanced course is the Tussie Mussie. And the Tussie Mussie was a small clustered bouquet, like you can see how I'm clustering here, oftentimes with very, very, very short stems, just like you would see here on my table, because they were homegrown, local product that never did breed to go very tall and gangly. It was oftentimes really little things. And the Tussie is a gathering of flowers. The Mussie is a bit of moss that was used to keep the stems moist. And historically, it was believed that if you carried a Tussie Mussie, you would have greater health. And ironically, today we are discovering that having flowers in our lives does give us greater health. And then, in that same vein, they felt that fragrance enhanced health. And so many Tussie Mussies would include herbs, like the rosemary. That way, when you go to smell, you smell the rosemary. Now, the reason they believe that is that the people that had flowers, they lived up on the hill where it smelled better anyway. And then if they went down in the bottom, where sometimes there was stinky things, they might be by sewers, they might be by a horse, they might be by a man, they're by something that stinks. Well, they would have flowers with them, a Tussie Mussie, they would hold it up to their nose and breathe in, and they felt that warded off disease. Much like today, as we're all running around with our masks on, so that we don't have disease next to us. They felt that the flowers protected them. And in essence, they did, because surrounding yourself with beauty does enhance your life. We had this single little fern curl left over, and I'm going to stick it in just because it's fun and I want to use it. I just love that. It's certainly not local, but isn't that fun in there? So I'm just creating a Tussie Mussie, and I'm thinking about the history and how these things all come together and what else I might want to add in. And during the era of the Tussie Mussie is also the Victorian era and the language of flowers. And when you look at these things, this little Tussie Mussie would be something that a person would carry with them when they went shopping, when they went anywhere. So then with the language of flowers, rosemary is for remembrance. So maybe this was put together by someone to give to their husband who was going off to work, getting on the train, traveling across the country as a salesman, going to be gone for a while, needed a Tussie Mussie for protection, and the rosemary would be remembrance. Remember me. Lavender, butterfly lavender, stands for devotion. So maybe that is, I'm devoted to you, and remember me. Then the little peach roses stand for immortality. Something we want these days. The scented geranium is healthy and comfort. So health and comfort with the scented geranium. The euonymus that I tucked in, euonymus represents long life. So all these little things. Now hypericum, it's another fun one. Hypericum represents protection. So in putting together this tiny Tussie Mussie, I'm providing protection, hope, health, devotion, all those things that are so important. And it's all symbolized with this little bit of flowers. Now I'm going to tie it off with bind wire. In the olden days, they might have tied it off with a bit of string or yarn, maybe a bit of raffia. Could have used a ribbon. They didn't have bind wire then, but we do now, so I can just kind of bring it in, twist it around together. It has such wonderful fragrance. Just a little tiny thing. And I'm going to clip this down. Marisa, Carolyn, what else is going on while I get this prepared for the next step?
I want to give a shout out to the people that are joining us from Kenya and the UK, Phoenix, Iowa, Calgary, Alberta, Australia, Florida, Pennsylvania, and California. And shout out to Loretta from BLT. And Deborah says hi and thank you for your email. Deborah, the American florist in Rome.
Ah, hi Deborah. I'm so glad. You know, we have connected with so many of you through social media, and it brings me such joy. Thank you for being part of our group and for joining us for this collaboration. Get to know each other. You're all so wonderful to each other as well as to me, and it just makes me very happy to have you part of everything. You know, people are talking a lot about where am I going to get flowers and how is this going to work and what can be happening. And that's another thing that's going to be changing quite a bit in our industry. The world again is evolving there. And fortunate for us, flowers are available, so you can get flowers. Our students have been getting them all over the world to make sure that they can complete their lessons. It's been really wonderful. The teachers, you've kept them busy. You've kept the teachers very busy. I'm going to wrap a little moss around here. Then I'm using bouillon wire just to lash it together. And while I do that, what else is going on?
Well, speaking of sourcing, we have a couple questions actually in regards to dahlias. Dennis is saying that dahlias don't last very long in their shop. And then Christy is actually asking about sourcing quality. Just dahlias are quite difficult. Any tips?
Dahlias are a temperamental one, and they're in such demand. If they're in season, they do way better than when they're not in season. But you can get them virtually year-round now for a price. The key with dahlias, and if you go to our website, flowerschool.com, go to the website and look up in the video resource library, go in there and type in dahlia, and it will give you a video on care and handling. And the key is you literally have to cook the stem. So you heat up water to coffee pot hot, just on the verge of boiling, and then put that water into a glass vase about 2 inches deep. Then cut that stem, place it in that boiling, almost boiling water, and then let it just sit. Let it cool to room temperature. And doing that, even a faded, sad, dehydrated dahlia will come back to life and hold really well. Now, if you are growing your own dahlias, the key that is counterintuitive, but actually if you cut them in the evening, when they've been going through photosynthesis and the stem is totally full of the sugars and such, even though they may be starting to fade a little bit because they're dehydrated from the sun, cut them in the evening, take them in, put them in that boiling water, then just let them sit overnight, cooling to room temperature. The next morning they'll be fabulous, and you'll be amazed how long they last. Most people pick in the morning, but in the morning they've sent those sugars down into the root system and put moisture into the stem. It's easier to replace moisture than it is to replace the sugars. So if you harvest in the evening, they actually will last longer, which is kind of a fascinating thing. There's all these things that we're just starting to learn. So I've got that bundled together. And this would be something that somebody would then take with them and keep all the time. So a traveling businessman would have this, and if they smelled something that wasn't right, they would protect themselves. Now, of course, society, and having to be one up on the next person, and I'm better than you, there became the demand to be showy and fancier. And that's when the Tussie Mussie holders came to be, because people wanted the glamour. Plus, they didn't really want to carry moss around. They wanted something to hold it that would give it a little cleaner finish. And I have one that I just love. This is a Tussie Mussie holder. And you would actually add moss into it. I'm going to make a littler one real quick here so that you can see how it would be. So you would have maybe just 3 of the muscari, maybe an allium. Maybe go ahead and put some lavender in here too, just because I like that blue and purple together. That's pretty.
Leanne, Harmony has a question about the dahlias. Would you also use quick dip?
I do not use quick dip on the dahlias. I just put them in the boiling water and leave them alone. And then the next day, I'll put them in regular water with flower food. But in the boiling water, I don't put any flower food in that. I took the allium back out because the white was just too much with that blue and purple. The blue and purple is too perfect together. And then just adding a few leaves, just a tiny bit. I want to keep this as delicate as possible here.
Then Leanne, Diane has a really great question on the Tussie Mussie you previously just made. Is that moss dry or wet?
It is damp. It's not dripping wet. It's not going to be draining, so to speak, but it is damp so that it gives a little bit of moisture to those flowers. So it's going to hold them for a little while. Then this one, I just made itty bitty. Isn't that cute? Oh, I just love it. What else do I want to stick in there? Maybe a single little spray rose. I don't want it to get too big because I want to put it in my Tussie Mussie holder. So just a little tiny spray rose. Yeah, that's cute. I like that. So I've just got a little delicate and then clip it. Now, those of you that have had the advanced class, this history is in your studies as well, so I'm repeating myself. Plus, I get to do a little more because we've got different flowers and such, so it's kind of fun. If you haven't taken advanced, it's kind of a preview of one tiny little part of class. Carolyn.
Yeah, Arthur has a great question. Can you still find Tussie Mussie holders?
You can. They have replicas available. I have seen them at many of the little import stores, and then also some wholesalers are carrying them. But yes, you can find replicas. This is an original one, and it's got beautiful little jewels on it. It's got the little pin on it. And you would take and just put a bit of moss. So Tussie, a little cluster of flowers, Mussie, a bit of moss, and then you set it down into the holder, forcing it in nice and snug, and then the pin goes in, and I have to put my glasses on so I can see where the hole is. The pin goes into the hole and up into the stems and locks it in place so then it won't fall out. And this way they can hold it and be quite beautiful. So this one you might wear to, or take to, your afternoon tea with the ladies because you want everybody to see that your Tussie Mussie holder is better than theirs. A friend of mine, James Moretz, who owned the Chicago Floral Art School many, many, many years ago, he gifted this to me. He has the largest collection of Tussie Mussie bouquet holders in the world. And he wrote a book about them, and it's quite fascinating how many different varieties there are. They have some that have clips that would hook onto your belt. They have some that have a secret lever that you push and then feet come out to make a tripod so that you can set it on the table. They have some that look like little cornucopias that have a little leg that pops out so that you set it sideways on the table. And people collected them. They have some that they had mirrors on them because then if you were at a ball and you wanted to see what's going on behind you, you would just hold your Tussie Mussie up and look in the mirror and see what was going on and spy. How cool is that? I mean, it's just the romance of the whole thing. And the reason I'm sharing this with you today is that this is what's happening to the floral world again. We were florists creating Tussie Mussies, growing our own flowers, taking care of our individual clients, doing everything. Then we expanded. And flowers became a big deal. And we had stores, and we would bring flowers in from all over the world. You'd have them at the grocery store. You could buy them online. You could buy them at the farmer's market. And now we're moving forward again. Yes, you can still buy them online. Yes, you can still buy them at the grocery store and at the flower shop. But that intimate relationship with the flower maker and the client is becoming more important again. Growing your own flowers, becoming more important. Having flowers for health, becoming more important. I'm finding our students are ending up with flower orders and selling flowers just as they're doing their studies, because people find out that they're going to flower school and they go, oh, really? I need. And many are starting to finance their studies by selling their flowers that they make for their assignments, which makes me so happy. I just think that's grand. But so that's my little story on Tussie Mussies and such. Sourcing and growing, that's going to continue to change and evolve. And if you have any bit of land at all, I would definitely recommend that you plant some things. Plant even just foliages that you can harvest to use to create your bouquets, because that adds value and saves money. So I'm going to pull some more flowers out. While I do that, what else is going on around here?
Well, I wanted to comment on the flowers you just used in that little Tussie Mussie there. I was just going to name off what those meant.
Oh, do you have them? So
I
have some.
I do.
Excellent. Okay, what is my story with my Tussie Mussie?
Okay, so everything in there says devotion, grace, usefulness, and comfort.
Devotion, grace, usefulness, and comfort. You know, don't we all need that right now? We all need grace and comfort. Oh my gosh, that is great. And to have someone devoted to us definitely makes us feel good. Carolyn.
And before you leave the Tussie Mussie, Tammy was wondering what the title and the author of that little booklet was.
The book, and you'll have to find it on eBay or something like that. It's called Posy Bouquet Holders, P-O-S-E-Y, Posy Bouquet Holders. And it was published by the American Floral Art School. The author is James Moretz. I think I've got a picture of him in here. Let's see here. Where's James? And Moretz is M-O-R-E-T-Z. There we go. And just a passionate man. We did a video for him with Tussie Mussies. I think if you Google, if you go to our flower school channel and write in Tussie Mussie, you'll find it because we did a video for him. Here is the one that has the little feet that pop out, making a tripod so that it stands up. It was so fun when he sent me about a dozen different holders that I could then use to create the video. And I just was so nervous because the value of these antique holders and that he was letting me touch them, I felt so honored. It was just, it made me very nervous, though, I'll be totally honest. It made me very nervous. Now, one thing that I need to do on this one to make it actually even more appropriate for a Tussie Mussie would be to add some scent to that, because that was one of the things that was very important, was that they should have fragrance, because that was how it kept you healthy. So going back to new school rather than old school, and that's what we're doing now. Florists combine history and that knowledge with the new technology and the new materials that we have available to us. So I can take just a few florets from the hyacinth that are going to be so fragrant, and just do a little tiny bit of cold glue.
And Leanne, did you know that that type of hyacinth and then the grape hyacinth that's in there have two different meanings?
Do they?
Yeah, so the pink one, like this, or the lavender one, the more standard one, means play, games, and sports. And the grape hyacinth is the usefulness.
I love it. Play, game, and sports. Oh my gosh, that's pretty cool.
And Chris actually wanted to know the meaning of the geranium.
The scented geranium is
Comfort.
Comfort.
Yes.
There we go. Scented geranium is comfort. And I think it also has a sub-meaning of health, which would be appropriate for these times. That's for sure. We had a student, it's been a very long time ago, and she took every single class that I ever gave, every single one. So if there was arranging hydrangeas, she took arranging hydrangeas. If there was basic flow design, she took that. If there was making a Tussie Mussie, she took that. And I asked her one day, some of these classes are overlapping. They're sort of the same. And she said, no, every single one is different because every teacher is different and every flower is different, and it brings me joy. And I thought, that's so true. Everything is always different, and it does bring us joy. So there, I just finished it. Now it has fragrance, and it's the perfect Tussie Mussie. So now I was pulling the butterfly ranunculus, just because I love them. You can grow these. They do grow here. Most people purchase them grown because that's just the way you can get them. And that way you can get them almost year round. One of the things I'm finding in this new phase of being a florist is that we are having to source things online to be able to get everything we need. So making sure that you know how to navigate the digital world, which obviously you're here with us today, so you do know the digital world, but sourcing out suppliers online that you can trust, that can source things worldwide for you so that you have them, is going to be a big part of being a successful florist in the coming years. You want to grow. You want local, you want to support your local farmers, and that comes first. And then you need flowers to provide for your clients. So that's where you start looking at all your online sources, making sure that you've got all the information so that when you need to buy something, you know where to go to get it. Which brings me on to the next topic of conversation, which is online sales. You need to be prepared to sell flowers with no contact. They may not want to come inside your store. You may not want customers in your store. You may not be able to. It might not be open. And you still need to be able to make sales. So having an online presence is vitally important. Having a good website, having a social media presence. I know many of our graduates, Mother's Day was very, very successful because they had strong social media posting and they were selling flowers that way and keeping busy, which that's so wonderful. So, so grand.
Leanne, Kim wants to know if you could possibly name some foliages that she could plant at home that she could use in her designs.
Kim, was it? Kim?
Yes.
That's going to depend on your climate and what zone you are in. Why don't you type in there where you are, just I'm in Kentucky or I'm in Washington or wherever. Type in where you are, and then I'll go back tomorrow and type in some thoughts on that. And also, all of you in the tribe, once Kim gets that listed on Facebook where she's from, if you know what could grow there, please type in and give her some answers, because I'll be honest, I don't grow anything. I cut things. And I pretend to know a lot, and I really know nothing when it comes to growing stuff, because I have no yard, I have no garden, I don't even have a balcony. I have only indoor space, and gardening just isn't my cup of tea. It's not my favorite thing. I know that sounds really awful. Everybody loves to garden except for Leanne. And so if you guys could help me answer that.
Oh, wow. Actually, she's in Southern California, so she could grow like anything.
Oh, you are in a good spot. Okay. So Dusty Miller is one that you could grow and would be wonderful to work with. Dusty Miller, lamb's ear, scented geranium. Help me out here. What else would we do there?
Oh, variegated pittosporum.
Ooh, variegated pittosporum. That's right, Carolyn.
Solid pit.
Seeded eucalyptus.
She's got so much good rhodesidia that she can go clip.
Okay, so you can hear the team says you are in a lucky spot. So it sounds like there's a lot. So anybody else who has ideas, would you go ahead and type in there? So California, what foliages would you suggest that Kim plant to harvest for her designs? I would also suggest herbs, because herbs give a feeling of being medicinal even when they're not always. Plus they're super, super, super hardy, so you don't have to worry about taking care of them. Some are very invasive, so you have to be careful about that. So you want to be a little cautious, but herbs would be good. Rosemary, mint, oregano. Blooming oregano is just gorgeous and has wonderful impact in with arrangements. So lots and lots of choices. It's kind of fun when you do your studies in all the classes, basic, advanced, the bouquets to carry, all of that. We give you a recipe and we say, oh, this is what we used and this is the recipe and you can do that. But we don't require it, because for us as teachers, it's fun to see what you come up with and what flowers are in your world. So we encourage you to check out your farmer's market, to check out your garden, check out your neighbor's garden, but to figure out other materials and then create the design in your own style using the things that you want to work with. So it makes it so that you can do your studies quite easily. You don't have to worry about, oh, what if I can't get blah, 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 blah. You don't need it. You're okay.
Leanne, I just want to say that I'm dazzled by your charm, and you are rich in your attraction. Those are what ranunculus mean.
The ranunculus are the little white ones that I just added, and we could even stretch it to the butterfly ranunculus. So dazzled in the charms, and what was the other one?
You are rich in your attraction.
Ooh, rich in attraction and dazzled in the charms. I would say that works for this. That's nice. So this is a larger bouquet. It takes the heritage of the Tussie Mussie and it evolves it into a design like you might do for a bride, done in the spiral style, but still thinking about health and happiness. There's, I know 2 florists actually that take the time to write out the message of the flowers and include it in with the card. So they would put those meanings on there and then deliver that, and it gives added value to their clients, which that's pretty special. I think that's very great. Many years ago, more years than I want to think about, to be perfectly honest, In Style Weddings and In Style magazine, if you remember way back, they had an article in the In Style magazine on how to work with your florist. It was written to the bride and saying, this is how you should work with your florist. And they said, you should write a story of your relationship and how you met and take it to the florist and have them interpret it with flowers. I just thought, oh no, that sounds like a nightmare, because I could see a person coming in with this whole book and saying, can you interpret this with flowers? But at the same time, isn't that romantic? Isn't that wonderful? I just love that whole idea. I think it's so grand. So now I've got this. I'm not even going to tie it off. I'm just going to cut it down, shorten everything.
Well, you got Dusty Miller in there. Do you know what that means?
No, what does Dusty Miller mean?
Well, I feel that it represents you to a T. It's intense happiness, while also a great deal of respect, especially because of wisdom.
Oh, wow, that's got a mouthful with it. It's kind of a
Well,
long
there's
one.
actually words to it, but I had to actually look up the definitions of the words, but I don't know what the words mean.
I love it. Yeah, when you, if you get excited about Tussie Mussies and history and the story like I do, if you just Google meaning of flowers, you will find so much information, because there's people that just love it and they spend their whole life putting together all the meanings. But what you'll discover is that every flower has multiple meanings, and that's because it was a secret language. And so there was a language, and it would be used, and you would put the flowers together and you would send it off to your sweetie, and it might say, oh, I love you, you're so beautiful, but I'm bashful, meet me behind the garden gate. And then pretty soon the adults figured out the language, and they're like, whoa, you can't meet behind the garden gate. So then evolution, time goes by, the next generation creates a little different language, different meaning, different lingo, so that no one can figure out what they're saying. So it's a secret conversation. And it's much like the slang of teenagers today is different than the slang 10 years ago. And the words don't always line up, and they go, what are you saying? And dude, and everybody's like, oh, well, whatever. And we oldsters are going, huh, what does that mean? What's LOL? I don't know this. So it was a secret language that evolved. So that's why you'll find different meanings. So oftentimes when I see the different meanings, I'll pick the happy one. Like yellow roses are friendship, but they're also jealousy. So I like to think of it as being friendship. That's my little story there.
Jen, one of our past graduates here, says, and now we have emojis.
And now we have emojis. I know. You know, the secret languages just continue. And all the different abbreviations, I can't tell you how often somebody will put some abbreviation, and then being an oldster, I have to go Google it to see what they're telling me, because I don't know what it means. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then my niece goes, oh, Leanne, because she thinks everybody should know that. And I'm like, I don't know that. I don't.
Okay, Leanne, Susie wants to know if we have any online classes for weddings.
We just came out with a brand new one. Our old online wedding floral specialist we pulled because it was getting out of date. The world has changed so much. And so the new one is in process, and it's going to be in 4 parts, and you can take them individually. Or if you do want the wedding floral specialist certification, you would take all of them. The first one came out a couple of weeks ago, and that was the Bouquets to Carry, and I love it. It turned out so great. And little did we know when we were working all of this that we were going to be entering a pandemic, that we would be in the middle of COVID, we'd be in sheltering, and weddings would change. So those huge weddings with the huge statement pieces and 50 centerpieces and 300 guests, not happening for a while. You know, they're talking about letting groups of 10. It's little. And so the weddings have evolved to where they're more elopement style. So it's narrowed it down to where the two things that are the most important is the bouquet and the boutonniere. And we were just so fortunate that the Bouquets to Carry course just finished, and so we just released it. And so yes, that portion is available now, and it's pretty great. We love it. I am hoping that you'll be able to join us for it at some point, because I think you'll enjoy it too. So I have a garden rose. Is this Duchess maybe? What is this
Baroness.
one? Baroness. So Baroness garden rose. And then look at this ranunculus. It's almost ridiculous. It's so big. And then let's see, maybe another one here. Kind of tucking it together. Carolyn?
Yes, I'd like to give a shout out to our 3 brand new first timers joining us on live today, Lilia, Sonia, and Jays.
Lilia, Sonia, and Jays, welcome. All of you that are part of the tribe, reach out and welcome the first timers. Let them know that we're glad they're here, and let them know that we all support each other, because that's what makes this whole thing so special. So I'm doing just big, flat-faced flowers, just because it seems blousy and fabulous. Trying to get them all to connect in here. What else have you got there?
Christian just has a great question. She's wondering what what your opinion is of doing an out-of-state wedding. Would you do it, or would you try and recommend a local florist?
I've got a broken flower here. Out-of-state weddings, it's going to be harder right now simply because of travel and lodging and all of that. So my answer is going to be slightly different than it would have been 3 months ago. Out-of-state weddings are a lot of fun, and many of our graduates do out-of-state weddings. I've done out-of-state weddings, I've done out-of-country weddings, and since you can source all your materials online, you can actually have them just shipped to wherever you're going and meet them there. And it's really wonderful to be able to do out-of-town weddings. The question is it going to be feasible to do that given the new situation? So that's going to be your biggest challenge. That, and making sure that you have connections there with people so that you know if you need a little assistance, you know who to go to. So that's where the Tulip Tribe is really helpful. I know we have graduates that help out each other on their weddings. They'll fly into wherever they are and do flowers with each other so that they can make sure and get the work done.
Leanne, Kathy wants to know if you have to be in school full-time to take the wedding or any of our online classes.
No. The wedding is a little more advanced. So you would want to take basic first so that you had some basic skills. In the wedding course, we assume you know how to price. And we teach you pricing as it pertains to wedding, but we don't go into great detail. We assume you know your care and handling. We do a summary, but we don't go into great detail. We assume you know how to tie a bow and wire and tape and that type of thing. We give you a summary, but we don't go into great detail. If you're an absolute beginner, the Wedding Boot Camp online class is a wonderful way to get started because it teaches you the basics to get going with it. It's a great first-time class just to check things out and see what you think. And then join us as you get your skills together. Join us for the other classes so that you've got the expanded. Marisa?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand this question. Okay, so Deborah is asking if she has taken the basic classes in her country, can she do the advanced classes with our school?
Yes. If you have previous experience, which we recommend 500 hours experience to move into advanced, or training elsewhere, probably not as good as ours, but that's beside the point. But if you've had previous training, then you can go straight to advanced and start right there. If you want to achieve your certified floral designer status, you'll need to do a test out of the basic. And you can't do a test out unless you've had previous training or if you've had 500 hours experience. But that allows you to get your certified floral designer status. And then once you have that, you can go on and test with the American Institute of Floral Designers to get your international CFD designation. So it's a great opportunity for those that already have experience to do the advanced, do the test out, and get your dual certification.
Tammy would like to know, how long would a dahlia last if you used a wire to make a stem?
Dahlias will only last, a part of the day because they are thirsty. But if you did wire it so that you could use it in a hand-wired bouquet, or if you wanted to put it into a boutonniere or a corsage or something, it would hold throughout that time, depending on the temperature, maybe 4 hours, maybe 8 hours. But they do pretty well, actually. They wire and tape nicely. Yeah, I think that would be fine.
People are wanting to know what that flower is right in the center there.
My center baby is a dahlia. I, at the very beginning, showed you, see if I can get it out here again. Well, here's one that I broke. But that variegation, isn't that exquisite? Absolutely amazing. And mixed with the ranunculus, and then the garden roses and the yarrow, gives me a very romantic Tussie Mussie. And I went ahead and tucked the buds in too. They're not going to open, but they're pretty. They just are nice.
Do you know what dahlias mean, Leanne?
I do not. What do dahlias mean?
They mean gratitude.
Gratitude, okay. I'm going to stick a little bit of lavender in here just because it has nice movement. This is a lavender with a little bit of a squiggle to it. Kind of fun. And let it just come out softening. Because Tussie Mussies don't have to be perfectly round. They can have a little bit of wildness to them, a little bit of movement. So what other questions do you have? Whoops, besides me breaking things, what can I answer for you? We have so much going on in the world. I again want to reiterate that now is a great time to be going into business and to be expanding your business. If you are already in business, it's a very tricky time because you've built your expenses up to make the business that you had, that you might not have at this point because the world has changed. So you have to refigure, come out with what do you need to do to be successful in the new environment. It's scary, but if you've never done it, then you don't have those expenses built up. And where rents were so astronomically high because the economy was great, rents are going to be down because businesses are going to go out. You've seen it already. How many restaurants have you seen close permanently? It's so sad. People's dreams are being shattered. That's the bad side of this, and it's horrid. And I would be the first to say it makes me want to cry. It also opens doors for the next stage. And so if you've always thought, maybe I should go into business, maybe this is the time that you do that. Maybe now is your time to look at adjusting your life, adjusting what happens, bringing happiness to your life, All those things. If you used to complain every day about getting up and going to work and you hated your job, maybe it's time to have a different job. Maybe that job's not there anymore. Maybe you wish you could still complain about it. But if you were complaining about it, use this time as your opportunity to correct what was wrong in your life. What do you wish was different? What do you wish was better? Now is when you can make those changes. And I'm not going to deny that it will be hard and it will be scary. But nothing really worth having in life is easy. It always is a little scary. And when you put yourself out there, it's super scary. But people need flowers. People are still going to get married. People are still going to have babies, especially in another 6 months. I bet you see a big flurry of babies coming up here. People are still going to die. And they need flowers. Granted, funerals are different right now. We're not allowed to gather. But we can send flowers. We can share that love and emotion. People are going to be entertaining at home. They're going to be having friends over. They may not have a huge party with 50 people, but they'll have a few close friends over for a picnic in the backyard, and they want flowers on the table that make it special. They're going to be working at home more than they ever have in the past, and they want flowers on their desk. I know I've been working at home, and I have a table that I set up because I don't have a desk at the house because I don't work at the house, but now I am. So I have a table I've set up, and I have a plant on one side, and I have flowers on the other side, so that I'm surrounded by beauty. And it makes me happy. And because of that, florists are an essential employee. Florists are necessary. Florists are going to be able to continue. But florists have to determine what that means and how that changes. I've got about 1 minute. Are there any questions out there that I needed to answer?
I would like to do a shout out to Catherine and Maggie. Maggie is going to be signing up for the advanced course, and Catherine is almost done with the advanced course, and she says, FDI, CFD, here I come.
I love it. Congratulations, and I can't wait to say welcome to Flower School. Be sure, once you are a student, or a graduate, or a member of the Flower Lovers Club, reach out to me at the private Tulip Tribe group. It's a supportive group of people. We started it just about 2 months ago, and it was a test to see if it worked well for us to be able to let the tribe together to support themselves, that it would be a nurturing, helpful environment. And it has exceeded our expectations. It's been wonderful. And the tribe is so supportive of each other. And if somebody's got a dilemma or a question, everybody comes in with answers. And you're welcome to join us. Be sure to answer the questions. There's some questions you have to answer so I can find you. It says, are you a grad? Are you a student? Are you part of the Flower Lovers Club? Who are you? So that we can identify how you fit in that group. And if you're not a student or a graduate or a Flower Lover Club member, once you do join us for one of those, then reach out, because then we would be able to welcome you. But for now, we just want to say thank you for joining me. Tussie Mussie Central here, all the fun things. I would love to have you all go out and gather some flowers and create a Tussie Mussie for you. Bring it home, put health into your life. And I invite you to join us for Flower School. And if you're thinking about a flower business, I invite you to do that. I think it's going to be a good time. I think it's going to be a fabulous time. But for now, our hour is over. Thank you, Caledonia. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Marisa. And thank you to you for joining us. I'll see you next week. Bye.